Welcome everyone. Today we will be practicing a shorter Vinyasa sequence that focuses on the inner line of the legs. There's no specific props that will be needed. That said, today's class incorporates dragonfly pose, a wide-legged straddle. So it can always be helpful to have pillows, blankets to elevate the hips or support the knees. So do make sure that you grab anything that will support your practice. And with that, let's jump right in. We'll begin in a child's pose today. With your knees wide enough so that the torso can fall heavy between the inner thighs. And then just allow your forehead to soften down towards the earth or maybe down towards a pillow. Close the eyes. And we begin to awaken the feeling body simply by observing the breath. Noticing how our inhales create an expansion. And as you exhale, there is a contraction. Let's take a moment and unite the breath. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh, let it out the mouth. And then seal the lips and find an even rhythm of breath in and out the nose. The connection to the breath is the constant throughout class. Everything else, it's optional. Follow your next exhale all the way out, and then gently make your way to a tabletop position, shifting your shoulders above the wrists, hips above the knees. Spread your fingers wide. We'll move through a few cat-cows together. First round, slow. Inhale, lower the belly down towards the ground. Spread through the sit bones, spread through the collarbones, lift your gaze. We'll pause here, so find your smooth, even rhythm of breath in and out the nose. See if you can tilt the tail even higher. Draw your shoulder blades tight. Shoulders stay above the wrists. One more big inhale. Exhale, navel towards the spine. Chin to chest, round the back body. Here for a few breaths. Press the ground actively away from you. Pressing through the mound of all 10 knuckles. Navel up and in. Breath to movement. Inhale, lower the belly. Shift your gaze upwards. Exhale, navel towards the spine, chin to chest, round the back body. 2 more cycles just like that. Your breath dictates the pace. Last round on your own. Next inhale will bring you back to neutral whenever it comes, no rush. Hug the navel up and in. Find a neutrality in the spine. Think that midpoint between cat-cow. Hug the navel up and in slightly so the core is stabilized. And then begin to extend your right leg back in space, lifting your right leg off of the ground. And you can either point your right toes or you could flex your right foot, but keep the leg engaged. Think about dialing your outer right hip downwards towards the ground. The leg doesn't have to go high. We want to keep the core stable, so keep hugging the navel up and in. Take in one more big inhale here. Exhale, knee towards the nose, round the back body. Press the ground away. Inhale back to 3-legged tabletop. And now bend your right leg. All right, it's a little tricky. This is for the inner hips. See if you can ground equally through both hands and your left knee. Keeping your core stable, begin to open the right knee out to the right. Think like a fire hydrant, and you're the dog. All right, so you might feel some pinching in the right hip. You can stay right here, or you could extend your right leg long. See if you can keep the rest of your body stable and strong. And then soften the right foot down to the ground. And then once here, so the right foot is now over out to the right, you can begin to shift forward and back, staying with the breath. staying with sensation in your inner right hip. Eventually stack the shoulders above the wrists once again. Hug the navel up and in with a strong core. Right leg back, three-legged tabletop. Exhale, right knee down to the ground. And now extend your left leg back in space. So once again, think about wrapping your outer left thigh and your left hip downwards towards the floor. Take in a big inhale here. Exhale, knee to nose. Chin to chest, round the back body. Inhale, three-legged tabletop, left leg back. Hug the navel up and in. Now bend your left leg. And then open the left knee out to the left by opening up the left hip. So everything else is stable. Think about equal body weight in both hands. And then you can stay here, or you might extend your left leg out to the left. Last moments. And then extend your left leg out to the left. You can ground through all four corners of your foot. And then begin to shift your body weight forward and back, staying with the breath. Just exploring sensation in the inner hips. Eventually bringing the shoulders above the wrists once again. Inhale, left leg back, three-legged tabletop. Exhale to tabletop pose. Now walk your palms one hand distance forward so your wrists are slightly in front of the shoulders. Curl your toes behind you and glide the hips up and back, downward facing dog. First few rounds of breath, don't worry about alignment. Feel free to pedal through the heels. You could sway the hips from side to side. You can break alignment patterns. Just stay with the feeling body. Eventually finding stillness. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh, let it out the mouth. Find your breath as you slowly walk your feet to the outsides of the hands and then sinking into the hips. Malasana, frog squat. So your toes could be pointing towards the corners of the mat, or they might be pointed straight forward, whatever feels best for your hips. Know that you could elevate your heels with pillows or blankets, and you could also lift upright so that the heels can ground. If the heels are rooted, hands meet at your heart center. Elbows into knees, knees into elbows. Find as much length as you can from the tailbone to the center of the heart. And you might gently begin to sway a little bit from side to side. All right, we're coming into a chicken wing stretch. So you can stay exactly as you are. This might be more than enough. Or you'll now you can relax your left arm. Bring your right hand behind the back. Your thumb points up, all the other four fingers point to the left. And you can place your hand, think about really right on the spine. The lower you place the hand, you're gonna experience less sensation in the right shoulder. The higher up your palm is, you might find more sensation. And then you bring your right elbow in front of your right leg. And then think pressing the knee into elbow, elbow into the knee. If you need a visual, you can look. And now it's accentuated my shoulder blade. I feel the stretch right in what would be like my chicken wing. It's really intense for some of us, so just stay where you are. And then when ready, super gently, you can release your right arm. Go ahead and give it a shake. You can relax it. And now we'll do the same thing with the left palm. Bring your left hand behind the back. Your left elbow hooks in front of the left leg. And it can be at any height you need. So keep length in the spine. Elbow presses into knee. Knee into elbow. Stay with the breath. Last moments here. Feel free to use your right hand to support as you gently release your left arm. Bring the hands back through to the center of the heart, tailbone down, heart is lifted. One big inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh, let it out the mouth. And then we'll pivot our toes forward. Begin to lift the hips, but keep a really heavy bend in the legs. So we now find ragdoll pose, a really passive forward fold. Bend the legs enough so that the torso can really hang heavy, the neck can hang heavy. Feel free to sway a little bit from side to side. And if it feels good, if it feels right, you can choose to interlace your hands behind the back, towards the low back initially, then up towards the ceiling, maybe even eventually downwards towards the floor. Just let it be passive, let it be gentle. Know you can always move intuitively with curiosity. And then slowly soften your fingertips down towards the ground. Keep that soft, gentle bend in the legs. And then vertebra by vertebra, begin to lift the torso, rise all the way up until your shoulders stack above the hips. Feel free to sway a little bit from side to side once you get there. Eventually, we're going to move into working in the inner line of the right hip. We'll ground through all four corners of your left foot, hands to the hips, standing staff pose. Hover your right leg. So right leg comes to a 90-degree angle. You can flex the right foot, hands to the hips. So you can stay here if this feels appropriate. You could be using the wall to support you. We'll now open the right knee out to the right so you can keep both hip bones facing forward. And now, right knee rotates down towards the ground. Right heel lifts up. It's super uncomfortable. And then, keeping this awkward shape, begin to extend the right leg long. Whew, it's very awkward. We reverse it. Bend your right leg. Right knee tilts up. Right heel tilts down. Shift your right knee forward. And then tap your right toes on the earth. We're going to do that 2 more times. You can follow my lead. Move slowly, but take your own pace. We'll complete 1 more round. The 3rd time that your right toes touch the earth, you can ground through that right foot and maybe sway from side to side. Just come back into the body. Eventually, we now transfer our body weight towards our right foot. Hands to the hips, standing staff pose, left leg lifts. Left leg is at a 90-degree angle. Your left ankle bends. Find one point of focus out in front of you. We try to keep the body stable with the exception of the movements in the left hip. Super tricky. Gently open the left knee out wide. Tilt the left knee down to the earth, left heel up. Ooh, feel that sensation. Extend through the left heel. We reverse it. Bend the left leg. Left knee up, left heel down. Shift the left knee forward. Tap the left toes on the earth. 2 more rounds. You move at your own pace. Move slow. Notice the parts of the movement that are really hard. The movements that you want to really move quickly through. Typically, those are our biggest growth points. So just notice, stay curious. After your third round and the left toes find the earth, you can pause there and just gently shift your body weight a little bit from side to side. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh, let it out the mouth. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forward. Inhale, lift the chest, halfway lift. Hands to the floor, step the feet back to a plank. Pausing here super briefly. Knees could be on the ground, stay connected to the breath. The shape is second in importance. Press the palms actively away from you, or rather, the ground actively away from you. Your navel up and in, tailbone towards the heels. Take in one more big inhale here. Exhale, bend the legs and glide the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Next inhalation, right leg rises, three-legged dog. And initially explore. Feel free to open up the hips. You can open up the shoulders. You can stack the right hip above the left, stacking the right shoulder above the left, and then doing the opposite. Just move with curiosity. Eventually square the hips, wrap your outer right thigh downwards towards the ground. Keep your right leg engaged as you lift through the right heel. Take in a big inhale here. Exhale, step the right foot to the outside of the right hand, runner's lunge. Right knee stays right above the right ankle, and then soften the left knee down to the ground. You can choose to stay exactly as you are right here. Or for a few rounds of breath, you might choose to lower onto your forearms. Feel free to sway a little bit from side to side. And then slowly, you can rise back up onto your hands, or your hands could be under blocks. Hug your right knee towards your right bicep. Think about lifting through the heart. Take in a big inhale here. Exhale, begin to straighten the right leg, any amount. Feel free to walk your hands back. Make your way to half splits with a runner's lunge variation. So the right leg is a little bit more open on a diagonal than you might be accustomed to. Think about extending the hips back, lengthening the heart forward. Right leg could be bent any amount. And then we're going to flow with our breath. As we inhale, right knee right above the right ankle, sink through the hips, lift through the heart. Exhale, straighten the right leg, any amount. Belly button lengthens forward. 2 more times, your pace. Next time, the right knee is right above the right ankle. You can pause there. Plant your palms. Engage your left leg, so much so that the left kneecap lifts off of the ground. Hug the navel up and in. Inhale, right leg high, up and back, three-legged dog. We come to half pigeon pose. Bring your right knee towards your outer right wrist crease, and you can wiggle your right shin forward any amount. Feel free to elevate your right hip with a pillow if you like. As you slowly soften the chest forward, you might find the ground or the supportive props. Wherever you are, you're experiencing sensation of resistance in the outer right hip. But your breath is far more interesting than whatever sensation arises. Follow your next exhale all the way out. And then slowly rise back up onto the hands. Engage your left leg behind you. Left leg lifts off of the ground. From the strength of the core, step the right foot back to a plank. Exhale to downward facing dog. Next inhalation, left leg rises, three-legged dog. As before, your first few moments here are really exploratory. There's no right or wrong. Moving simply to notice what's already here. Eventually squaring your hips, wrapping your outer left thigh downwards towards the floor. Taking a big inhale here. Exhale, step the left foot to the outside of the left hand, runner's lunge. Hug the left knee inwards towards the left bicep, and then soften the right knee down to the earth. You can keep your hands on the ground. This might feel more than enough to sink through the hips, lift through the heart. You could elevate your hands on pillows, or you might be softening your forearms all the way down towards the floor. Just a few full rounds of breath. Slowly rise up, back up onto the hands, or choose to elevate your hands with blocks. And those blocks can travel with you through these two movements. With an inhale, begin to lengthen the heart center forward. Shift your gaze slightly up. Left knee towards the left bicep. And as you exhale, begin to straighten the left leg any amount as you lengthen the belly button forward and walk your hands back. So think about lengthening the belly button forward and hips back, more so than bringing your forehead down towards the floor. Flowing with the breath. Inhale to low lunge. Exhale, half splits variation. 2 more cycles of breath. Next time the left knee is right above the left ankle, you can pause there. Plant your palms, engage your right leg behind you, right knee lifts off of the ground. Hug the navel up and in. Inhale, left leg high up and back, three-legged dog. Exhale to half pigeon pose. Bring your left knee forward towards your outer left wrist, and then you can wiggle your left shin forward any amount. Take in a big inhale, lengthen the heart. And as you exhale, once again, leading with the belly button, fold forward any amount. Use every breath as an opportunity to stay with the feeling body. The thinking mind, it's welcome. But in this moment, it's not driving the show. Slowly begin to lift the torso, rise all the way up, planting your palms once again. Engage your right leg behind you, lift it off of the ground. From the strength of the low belly, step your left foot back to a plank. Exhale to downward facing dog. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale, big sigh, let it out the mouth. Inhale, walk, step, or hop your feet forward. Come all the way into a seat. And we're going to open up our legs wide. Here's where we come into dragonfly or a straddle shape. Here is also where it is very, very helpful to elevate the hips so that they are higher than the knees. I have forgotten to bring a pillow, but maybe you're in a better situation than me. Why that's really helpful, that eliminates the rounding in the low back that a lot of us experience when we open up our legs wide. So you can elevate the hips. You don't need to be at 100% of your full expression, maybe 70% or so. And we are going to extend through the balls of the feet, draw the toes back in towards the shins so the legs are active, and then slowly begin to walk your palms forward any amount. So your hands might be on the ground. Think lengthening the belly button forward. You might be entirely upright, and that's perfect. You could be on the forearms. You could soften your forehead all the way down towards the ground or pillows. Notice what you feel. And then slowly, vertebra by vertebra, begin to lift the torso, rise all the way up. The shape is often very sensational in its release, so you can choose to bend your legs, bring the soles of the feet on the ground once again. Hands come behind you, and then just gently windshield wiper your legs, swaying the legs from side to side. And from here, you'll find stillness with that windshield wipering. Extend the legs long, and then make your way onto your back for the remainder of class. We'll bend our knees, soles of the feet down to the ground. Relax your arms by the side body so that your fingertips can just barely graze the backs of the heels. Press your low back into the ground. And then with an inhale, begin to lift the hips high towards bridge pose. Pressing into the soles of the feet, engaging the glutes, and lifting the hips high. Take in one more full inhale. Exhale slowly, first with the upper back, then the mid back, then the low back. Soften the back body down to the ground. And then move at your own pace between those two shapes. You don't have to move one breath to one movement, but as you inhale, let the hips rise. And as you exhale, soften the hips down to the earth. We'll be here for just a few rounds of breath. Next time the back body touches down towards the earth, you can pause there. And then bring the soles of the feet to touch, knees out wide. Feel free to support your inner knees or inner thighs with pillows. You can do whatever feels good with the upper body. But for today, my invitation is to bring your left hand to the heart, right hand to the low belly. Close the eyes. Feel the effects of the practice so far. And use every breath cycle to stay with the feeling body. Gently, you can relax your hands towards the legs. Guide your knees inwards towards one another. And then hug the knees inwards towards the chest, giving yourself a gentle squeeze. Feel free to keep the eyes closed for the remainder of class. You can feel these really simple movements. Feel free to sway a little bit from side to side. Eventually, opening the arms wide, arms out to a T. Shift your hips 1 or 2 inches to the right. Keep the knees in close to the chest, and then lower the knees to the left, spinal twist. You can keep your neck neutral, or you could choose to look over either shoulder. Just a few rounds of breath. Notice how the breath moves within the feeling body. Next inhale, bring the knees back inwards towards the midline. Shift your hips 1 or 2 inches to the left. Keep the knees in close to the chest. And then lower the knees to the right, spinal twist. You can choose to keep the neck neutral, or you could look over either shoulder. Next inhale, bring the knees back inwards towards the midline. Give yourself one last final squeeze, a moment of sincere appreciation. And I do sincerely mean that. So take a moment and acknowledge what the body can physically do. Not only these shapes that we create in a movement practice, but the body breathes. The heart beats. It is the vessel that moves us through life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, we make our way to our final Shavasana, extending your right foot to the right corner of the mat, left foot to the left corner of the mat. Take the time to lift through the chest so that the shoulders can really relax, the heart can broaden, arms relax by the sides, palms face up. At this point in practice, you no longer have to control the breath. There is nothing left to do. These next few minutes are an invitation to simply be. Give yourself permission to simply rest, to receive. I will leave you here. I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Thank you for joining me.